Karan stared at the human diplomat for a long moment. The council chamber was completely silent. Even the rebels seemed confused by what was happening. They had expected fear and surrender. They had not expected a small, soft human to stand up and offer himself as a sacrifice. "You amuse me, human," Karan finally said. "But I am not stupid. Why would I trade a princess for a diplomat? She is worth 10,000 of you." Minho nodded calmly. "You are right. She is more valuable to your people. But think about what happens after today. If you keep the princess, every Valari on this planet will want you dead. They will never stop hunting you. But if you let her go and take me instead, you become something different." "What do I become?" Karan asked. "A leader who shows mercy," Minho said. "Someone who can negotiate. Someone who might actually win." Karan was quiet. His grip on Lyra loosened slightly, and she gasped as blood returned to her arm. Her star-filled eyes never left Minho's face. She was trying to understand him. Why was this human doing this? What did he gain from it? "You speak well for someone facing death," Karan said. "I have been facing death since I landed on this planet," Minho replied. "Your people have made it clear that humans are not welcome here. Every moment I spend on Valora is borrowed time. So I might as well use it for something good." A low murmur spread through the watching counselors. Some of them looked ashamed. They had treated the human with contempt since he arrived. And now he was willing to die for their princess. Princess Lyra spoke, her voice shaking slightly. "Human, Minho, you do not have to do this. I am not worth your life." Minho smiled at her. It was a gentle smile, full of warmth. "Everyone is worth saving, princess. Even someone who thinks I am worthless." Lyra felt something strange in her chest. It was like a door opening inside her, letting in light she had never seen before. This human, this small and fragile creature from a young world, was showing more courage than anyone she had ever known. Karan laughed, but it sounded forced now. "Enough of this. I have made my decision. I will keep the princess. You, human, can die here if you wish. It makes no difference to me." He raised his rifle. Minho did not move. He did not flinch. He simply stood there, looking Karan directly in the eye. "Then shoot me," Minho said. "But know this. If you kill me, Earth will never forgive Valora. The alliance your emperor wanted will never happen. And when the Korath come for this planet, you will face them alone." Karan hesitated. His finger was on the trigger, but something stopped him. Perhaps it was the calm certainty in Minho's voice. Perhaps it was the way the human faced death without fear. Or perhaps it was something else entirely. In that moment of hesitation, Yuna made her move. She had been working silently for the past several minutes, using her tablet to send encrypted signals to the human ship, still waiting at the landing platform. The ship's emergency beacon was connected to Earth's nearest military outpost, 12 hours away by fast travel. But more importantly, the ship had defensive systems. Systems that could be activated remotely. The first alarm sounded from outside the palace. Then another. Then a dozen more. Karan's soldiers looked at each other in confusion. "What is that?" One of them shouted. "The human ship," another reported, checking a device on his wrist. "It has activated some kind of barrier. Our soldiers outside cannot get close to it." Yuna stepped forward, her tablet held high. "The barrier is electromagnetic," she said loudly. "It is also broadcasting a distress signal across every frequency in this system. Every ship within range now knows that the Valari royal family is under attack." Karan's face twisted with rage. "You think that will save you? Reinforcements will take hours to arrive." "Perhaps," Yuna said calmly. "But every minute you spend here is a minute you lose. Your element of surprise is gone. Your escape routes are being tracked. The longer you wait, the worse your chances become. Minho felt a surge of pride. Yuna was brilliant. She had been his assistant for 5 years, and she never stopped surprising him. While he had kept Karan distracted with words, she had been building a trap. Karan seemed to realize this too. His grip on Lyra tightened again, and she cried out in pain. "You think you are clever," Karan snarled at Minho. "But I still have the princess. I still have the power here. Do you?" Minho asked. He took another step forward, closing the distance between them. "Look around you, Karan. Your soldiers are nervous. The counselors are watching. The Emperor is waiting. You have already lost the image of control. The only question now is how this ends." "It ends with me on the throne," Karan said. "No," Minho said softly. "It ends with you making a choice. You can fight and probably die. You can run and definitely be hunted. Or you can negotiate and maybe survive." "Negotiate?" Karan spat. "With who?" "The Emperor who abandoned me." "With me," Minho said. Everyone stared at him. Minho continued, his voice steady. "I am a diplomat. That is what I do. I find solutions to problems that seem impossible. You feel betrayed by the Emperor. Fine. Let us talk about that. Let us find a way forward that does not end in blood." "You would speak for the Valari?" Karan asked, disbelief in his voice. "I would speak for peace," Minho said. "For everyone? Your soldiers followed you because they believed in you. They survived the Korath because of you. That means something. Maybe it means you deserve better than being a criminal. But you will never find out if you kill the princess today." Silence fell over the chamber. Karan's face was unreadable. His soldiers waited for orders. The counselors held their breath. Princess Lyra looked at Minho with new eyes. She had been taught her whole life that humans were inferior, weak, simple. But this man was none of those things. He was standing in front of an armed rebel, unarmed and unafraid, trying to save her life with nothing. But his words, it was the bravest thing she had ever seen. Karan slowly lowered his rifle. For a moment, hope filled the room. Then one of his soldiers shouted, "Sir, Valari military ships incoming. They will be here in 10 minutes." Karan's face hardened. "You tricked me," he said to Minho. "You were just buying time." "I was doing both," Minho admitted. "Buying time and offering a real solution. The choice was always yours, Karan. It still is." But Karan was done listening. The military ships changed everything. If they arrived before he escaped, he and his soldiers would be captured or killed. There was no more time for talking. "Kill the humans," Karan ordered, "and bring the princess. We are leaving." His soldiers raised their weapons. Minho did not run. He did not hide. He simply stood between the rebels and Yuna, shielding her with his body. "Get behind me," he said quietly. "Minho." "No," Yuna started. "Behind me," he repeated. The soldiers fired. Everything seemed to move in slow motion. Minho saw the flash of plasma energy. He felt heat rushing toward him. He knew, in that moment, that he was probably going to die. But he did not regret anything. If his death bought even a few more seconds for Yuna to escape, for the princess to be saved, then it was worth it. That was what humans did. They protected each other. They sacrificed for others. It was simply who they were. The plasma bolt hit him in the shoulder, and Minho fell to his knees. Pain exploded through his body like fire. He heard Yuna screaming his name. He heard Princess Lyra crying out something he could not understand, but he did not fall. Not completely. He forced himself to stay upright, to keep his body between the rebels and Yuna. Through the pain, through the smoke, through the chaos, Minho looked up at Karan. "Is that all you have got?" He asked, and somehow, impossibly, he smiled. Karan stared at him with something that might have been respect, or fear, or both. The human would not fall. The human would not give up. And in that moment, everything changed. The next morning came too quickly. Minho had barely slept. His room in the palace was beautiful, with walls that glowed soft gold and a bed that felt like sleeping on clouds. But his mind would not rest. He kept thinking about Princess Lyra and the cold way she had looked at him. He kept thinking about what was at stake. Yuena knocked on his door just as the first sun rose over the crystal towers. Yes, Valora had 2 sons, and watching them both climb into the purple sky was something Minho would never forget. "The council is gathering," Yuna said. She looked tired, too. "Are you ready?" Minho nodded and followed her through the palace hallways. Valari servants moved past them, carrying trays of strange food and drinks. Some of them stared at the humans. Others pretended they did not exist. The council chamber was already full when they arrived. Minho took his seat at a small table near the front, facing the Emperor and Princess Lyra. She was wearing a white dress today, with silver chains around her neck and wrists. She looked like a queen already, even though her father still sat on the throne. The Emperor raised his hand, and the room fell silent. "We are here to discuss an alliance between Valora and Earth," the Emperor said. "The Karath Empire grows stronger every day. They have taken 3 of our outer colonies. They will not stop until they control the entire sector." Minho stood. "Earth wants peace, Your Majesty. But we also understand that sometimes peace must be protected. We offer our support in whatever form is most helpful." A Valari counselor laughed. "Support? What support can humans offer? You have no great warships. Your soldiers are weak. Your technology is primitive. We have other strengths," Minho said calmly. "We adapt quickly. We work together well. And we never give up, even when things seem impossible." Princess Lyra leaned forward. "Pretty words," she said. "But words do not win wars." Before Minho could respond, a loud explosion shook the palace. The golden doors blew open, and smoke filled the council chamber. Screams echoed through the room as Valari counselors ran for cover. Guards drew their weapons, but they were too slow. Armed figures rushed through the smoke. They wore black armor and masks that hid their faces. There were at least 30 of them, moving with military precision. "Nobody move," shouted the leader. He was tall, even for a Valari, and he carried a plasma rifle that glowed with deadly energy. "This council is now under our control." The Emperor stood, his old face showing no fear. "Who are you? What do you want?" The leader laughed and pulled off his mask. His face was scarred, his left eye missing. "Do you not recognize me, Your Majesty? I am Karan. I was once your general, until you abandoned me and my soldiers to die on the Korath border." Gasps filled the room. Minho had heard about Karan during his research. He was a war hero who had disappeared years ago, believed to be dead. "Karan," the Emperor said slowly, "I did not abandon you. The council decided to let us die." Karan shouted. "But we survived. We escaped. And now we have returned to take what should have been ours." He turned his rifle toward the Emperor. The throne. Guards moved to protect the Emperor. But Karan's soldiers were faster. In seconds, every guard in the room was down, stunned by energy blasts. The counselors huddled together in fear. Karan walked up the steps toward the Emperor. But then he stopped. His eye moved to Princess Lyra, who stood frozen beside her father's throne. "Actually," Karan said, "the Emperor is old. He will die soon anyway. But the princess, she is the future of Valora." He smiled, and it was a terrible thing to see. "If I control the princess, I control everything." He grabbed Lyra's arm and pulled her down from the platform. She cried out in pain but did not struggle. Valari law was strange and ancient. The people believed that royal blood was sacred. No Valari could harm royalty, even to save them. Even Lyra herself was forbidden from fighting back against a fellow Valari in such a direct confrontation. Karan knew this. He used it. Now, Karan said, pressing his rifle against Lyra's head, here is what will happen. The Emperor will sign a document giving up his throne to me. Then he will be taken to the prison tower. If anyone tries to stop us, the princess dies. The Emperor's face was white with fear and rage. You would not dare. She is royal. If you harm her, then I will burn for eternity in the dark places, Karan finished. Yes, I know the old stories, but I stopped believing in them long ago. In war, I learned that there are no gods. There is only power. Minho watched all of this from his small table. His heart was pounding. Yuna was beside him, her hand gripping his arm. Do not do anything stupid, she whispered. Minho said nothing. He was thinking, watching, looking for any opportunity. Princess Lyra stood in Karan's grip, her face pale but proud. She would not beg. She would not cry. Even facing death, she held on to her dignity. The Emperor looked around the room desperately. His guards were down. His counselors were hiding. There was no one left to help Dot. Then his eyes found Minho. For a long moment, they stared at each other. The old alien Emperor and the young human diplomat. Two beings from different worlds, brought together by fate. Minho saw the question in the Emperor's eyes. He saw the desperate hope Dot and he made a decision. He stood up. Wait, Minho said loudly. His voice echoed in the silent chamber. Every eye turned to him. Even Karan looked surprised. The human? Karan laughed. What do you want, little creature? Minho walked forward slowly, his hands raised to show he had no weapons. I want to make a deal. Karan tilted his head. A deal? What could you possibly offer me? A better hostage, Minho said. Silence fell over the room. Even Yuna stared at him in shock. Karan's smile faded. Explain. Minho stopped a few meters from Karan and Lyra. He could see the princess's star-filled eyes watching him with confusion. If you kill the princess, you will have nothing, Minho said. The Valari people will never accept you as their leader. They will rise up against you. Your rebellion will fail. And? Karan said impatiently. But if you take me instead, Minho continued, you will have a human hostage. Earth will be forced to negotiate with you. You can demand ships, weapons, resources. Things that will actually help you fight the Korath. Karan was quiet for a moment. Minho could see him thinking, calculating. Why would you offer yourself? Karan asked. Minho smiled slightly. Because I am a diplomat. My job is to solve problems. Right now, I am the solution. Princess Lyra found her voice. No, she said. This is foolish. You do not even know me. Why would you sacrifice yourself? Minho looked at her. Their eyes met, and for a moment, everything else disappeared. There was only the human and the alien princess. Two souls reaching across the vast distance between their worlds. Because it is the right thing to do, Minho said simply. Karan laughed. But there was uncertainty in his voice now. He had not expected this. Humans were supposed to be cowards. Humans were supposed to think only of themselves. You are either very brave or very stupid, Karan said. Probably both, Minho admitted Dub behind him. Yuna was already moving quietly, her fingers typing rapidly on her tablet, hidden beneath her sleeve. She knew what Minho was doing. He was buying time, and she would not waste it. The game had just begun. The ship broke through the purple clouds of Valora, and Minho pressed his face against the window like a child seeing snow for the first time. Below him, The alien world stretched out in colors he had never imagined. The forests were silver. The rivers glowed soft blue. The cities rose like crystal mountains, sharp and beautiful against the strange sky. "We are landing in 10 minutes, said Yuna from behind him. She was checking her tablet, her fingers moving fast across the screen. "The Valari Council is waiting. Remember, do not look directly at the Emperor. It is considered rude." Minho nodded but did not turn away from the window. He was 32 years old, and he had spent his whole life preparing for this moment. Earth had sent many diplomats to alien worlds before, but the Valari had never allowed humans to visit their home planet. Until now, why do you think they invited us? Minho asked. Yuna put down her tablet and walked to stand beside him. "Politics," she said simply. "The Valari are fighting with the Kareth Empire. They need allies, even weak ones." "Weak ones," Minho repeated with a small smile. "Is that what they think of us?" "That is what everyone thinks of us," Yuna said. She was not being cruel. She was being honest. Humans had only discovered space travel 50 years ago. In a galaxy where some species had been traveling between stars for thousands of years, humans were like babies learning to walk. The ship landed smoothly on a platform made of white stone. Minho took a deep breath and straightened his simple black suit. He carried no weapons. He wore no armor. The Valari had been very clear about this. Humans were guests, and guests did not bring weapons into someone else's home. The door opened, and warm air rushed in. It smelled sweet, like flowers and honey mixed together. Minho stepped out first, with Yuna close behind him. A group of Valari soldiers stood waiting. They were tall, almost 2 meters each, with pale blue skin and silver hair that fell past their shoulders. Their eyes were large and completely black, like pools of dark water. They wore armor made of something that looked like glass but was probably stronger than steel. One of the soldiers stepped forward. "Human diplomat," he said in perfect English. His voice was cold. "Follow me." Minho bowed his head slightly. "Thank you for receiving us." The soldier did not respond. He simply turned and walked toward the crystal palace that rose in the distance. Minho and Yuna followed, their footsteps echoing on the white stone path as they walked. Minho noticed that many Valari had stopped to watch them. Some pointed. Others whispered to each other. A few laughed quietly. Minho kept his face calm and his back straight. He had expected this. Humans were strange to them. Small, soft, different. The palace was even more beautiful up close. Its walls were made of something clear, like ice, and inside Minho could see gardens and fountains and hundreds of Valari moving about their daily lives. Guards stood at every door, watching with those dark, unreadable eyes. They entered through a massive archway and walked down a long hallway. Paintings hung on the walls, showing Valari history. Great battles. Powerful kings and queens. Minho studied them as he walked, trying to learn everything he could about these people. Finally, they reached the council chamber. The doors were made of gold, carved with symbols Minho did not understand. The soldier pushed them open without a word. Inside, the room was round and enormous. Seats rose up on all sides, like a stadium, and hundreds of Valari sat watching. At the far end, on a raised platform, sat the Emperor. He was old, his blue skin pale and thin, but his eyes were sharp and intelligent. Beside him sat a young woman. Minho felt his breath catch in his throat. She was the most beautiful person he had ever seen. Her skin was a deeper blue than the others, like the ocean at twilight. Her silver hair was braided with small gems that sparkled in the light. Her eyes, unlike the pure black of her people, had tiny stars in them, like she carried pieces of the night sky inside her. Princess Lyra looked down at the human diplomat with an expression of complete boredom. Minho bowed deeply, just as he had practiced 1,000 times. Great Emperor Valora, thank you for the honor of this invitation. Earth sends its greetings and its hope for friendship between our peoples. The Emperor leaned forward slightly. Rise, human, he said. His voice was like thunder, low and powerful. We have heard much about your species. You are young. You are curious. You spread across space like weeds in a garden. Minho rose and met the Emperor's gaze, then quickly looked away, remembering Yuna's warning. We are young, Your Majesty. That is true. But we believe that youth brings new ideas, fresh perspectives. We hope to learn from the great Valari civilization. Princess Lyra made a small sound, almost like a laugh but cooler. Learn from us? She said. Her voice was like music, but there was ice in it. What could a human possibly learn that would matter? Your species cannot even live for more than 100 years. By the time you learn anything useful, you are already dying. The council chamber fell silent. Everyone waited to see how the human would respond to the insult. Minho felt his heart beating fast, but he kept his voice calm. You are right, Princess. We do not live long, but perhaps that is why we work so hard. We know our time is short, so we try to fill every moment with meaning. Every day matters to us. Lyra raised one elegant eyebrow. She had expected the human to become angry or embarrassed. She had not expected this quiet dignity. The Emperor raised his hand. Enough. The human diplomat will be given quarters in the palace. Tomorrow, we will begin the official negotiations. He looked at Minho with something that might have been curiosity. Rest well, human. You will need your strength. Minho bowed again. Thank you, Your Majesty. As guards led him away, Minho glanced back one last time. Princess Lyra was still watching him, her star-filled eyes narrow with suspicion. She did not trust him. She did not respect him. She thought he was nothing. That was fine. Minho had faced doubt before. He would show them what humans could do. In her seat, Lyra watched the small human disappear through the golden doors. Something about him bothered her. He was not afraid. He should have been afraid. Every other species that came to Valora trembled before the Emperor. But this human had stood tall. He had spoken with respect but not fear. Interesting, the Emperor murmured beside her. Lyra looked at her father. He's just a human. The Emperor smiled, a rare thing. Perhaps? Or perhaps he is something more. Time will tell, daughter. Time will tell. Lyra said nothing. But long after the council chamber emptied, she found herself thinking about the human diplomat with the calm eyes and the steady voice. There was something different about him. She just did not know what it was yet. 3 days passed before Minho opened his eyes. The first thing he saw was white. White walls. White ceiling. White light streaming through tall windows. For a moment, he thought he was dead. Then the pain hit him, and he knew he was still very much alive. Do not move, said a familiar voice. The doctor said any sudden movement could open your wound again. Minho turned his head slowly and found Princess Lyra sitting beside his bed. She was wearing simple clothes instead of her royal dress, and her silver hair was loose around her shoulders. She looked different somehow, softer, more real. Princess, Minho croaked. His throat was dry. What are you doing here? Lyra picked up a glass of water and held it to his lips. Drink first. Talk later. He drank gratefully. The water was cool and sweet, unlike anything he had ever tasted on Earth. When he was done, Lyra set the glass aside and looked at him with those incredible star-filled eyes. You have been unconscious for 3 days, she said. The plasma bolt damaged several major blood vessels in your shoulder. The doctors were not sure you would survive. But I did, Minho said. Yes, you did. Lyra paused, and something complicated crossed her face. The doctor said they had never seen anything like it. Your body should have given up. But it kept fighting. They called it a miracle. Minho smiled weakly. Humans are stubborn. We do not die easily, so I have learned. Silence fell between them. Outside the window, Minho could see the crystal towers of the Valari Palace glittering in the light of the two suns. It was beautiful. So beautiful, it almost hurt. Your assistant Yuna has been here every day, Lyra said. She refused to leave your side. We had to force her to eat and sleep. That sounds like Yuna. Lyra nodded. She's a good friend. The best, Minho agreed. What happened to Karan? And his soldiers? Lyra's expression darkened. They are in prison, waiting for trial. My father wants to execute them, but... She stopped, uncertain. But what? But I have been thinking about what you said, Lyra admitted. About justice. About understanding. She looked down at her hands. Karan and his soldiers were not evil. They were broken. They were forgotten. If we had treated them better, none of this would have happened. Minho was quiet for a moment. Then he reached out with his good hand and touched Lyra's arm. You are a wise princess. Lyra looked at his hand on her arm. In Valari culture, such casual touch was almost unheard of, especially between a royal and an outsider. But she did not pull away. I am not wise, she said. I was cruel to you when you first arrived. I looked down on you because you were human. I thought your species was beneath us. She met his eyes, and there was shame in her gaze. I was wrong. You were raised to think that way, Minho said gently. It is not your fault. But I should have known better. I should have seen past my prejudice. Lyra shook her head. When you stood up to Karan, when you offered yourself in my place, I did not understand. I kept asking myself why. Why would a human risk his life for an alien princess who had treated him with nothing but contempt? Do you understand now? Minho asked. Lyra was quiet for a long moment. Then she nodded slowly. I think I do. You did it because it was right. Because someone needed help, and you were able to give it. It did not matter that I was Valari, or that I had been unkind to you. All that mattered was that you could do something good. So you did. Minho smiled. That is the human way. Or at least, it is what we try to be. We do not always succeed. But we keep trying. Lyra leaned closer, her star-filled eyes searching his face. Is that why humans explore space? Why you reach out to other species, even when they reject you? Because you believe in doing good? Partly, Minho said. We are also curious. We want to learn. We want to grow. But yes, at our core, most humans believe that we should help each other, that we are stronger together than apart. Even if it costs you everything? Even then. Lyra sat back, her expression thoughtful. For a long time, neither of them spoke. The suns moved slowly across the sky, casting long shadows through the room. Finally, Lyra stood up. I should let you rest, she said. But before I go, I need to tell you something. Minho looked up at her. My father has decided to proceed with the alliance, Lyra said. Earth and Valor will stand together against the Korath Empire. Your mission was a success. Minho felt a wave of relief wash over him. That is wonderful news. There is more. Lyra hesitated, then continued. I have asked to be the ambassador to Earth. I want to learn more about your people. I want to understand how a species so young and so fragile can produce someone like you. Minho stared at her in surprise. You want to come to Earth? If you will have me, Lyra said. There was a vulnerability in her voice that Minho had never heard before. She was not speaking as a princess now. She was speaking as a person who had had her entire worldview shattered and was trying to rebuild it. Of course we will have you, Minho said. Earth would be honored. Lyra smiled, and it transformed her face. She looked younger suddenly and full of hope. Thank you, Minho, for everything. for saving my life, for showing me that I was wrong, for... She stopped, struggling to find the words. For being you. She leaned down and did something that shocked him. She pressed her lips gently against his forehead in a traditional Valari gesture of deep gratitude and respect. When she pulled back, her cheeks were flushed with color. "Get well soon," she said. "I look forward to seeing your world." Then she turned and walked out of the room, leaving Minho alone with his thoughts. He lay there for a long time, staring at the ceiling, thinking about everything that had happened. He had come to Valora as a diplomat, hoping to build a simple alliance. He had ended up changing the course of history. The door opened again, and Yuna rushed in. Her eyes were red from crying, but she was smiling. "You're awake," she exclaimed, practically throwing herself into the chair beside his bed. "How do you feel? Do you need anything?" "The doctor said you should not move too much, but I can get you water or food or—" "Yuna," Minho interrupted gently. "I am fine. I am alive. Thanks to you." Yuna shook her head. "Thanks to me? I did not do anything. You were the one who stood in front of an army with nothing but your words. And you were the one who called for help," Minho said. "You activated the ship's defenses. You sent the distress signal. We are a team, Yuna. We have always been a team." Yuna's eyes filled with tears again. "When you got shot, I thought—" She could not finish the sentence. Minho reached out and took her hand. "I know. I'm sorry for scaring you. Do not ever do that again," Yuna said firmly. "I mean it. If you die, who am I supposed to work for? I refuse to break in a new diplomat." Minho laughed, and it hurt his shoulder, but he did not care. It felt good to laugh. It felt good to be alive. Outside the window, the two suns of Valora began to set, painting the sky in shades of orange and purple and gold. Somewhere in the palace, Princess Lyra was preparing for a journey to a distant blue planet called Earth. Somewhere in a prison cell, Karan was facing the consequences of his choices. And somewhere across the galaxy, the Korath Empire was learning that humans and Valari had become allies. The universe was changing. And at the center of it all was a simple human diplomat who had refused to give up. Minho closed his eyes and smiled. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new dangers, new opportunities. But for now, he was content just to rest and be grateful for the people who had stood by him. He had come to Valora, hoping to make a difference. He had succeeded beyond his wildest dreams, and this was only the beginning. Blood dripped from Minho's shoulder onto the white stone floor. The pain was incredible, like someone had pushed a burning knife into his body and left it there. But he refused to fall. He refused to give Karan the satisfaction of seeing him collapse. The rebel soldiers stood frozen, their weapons still raised. They had expected the human to go down with one shot. Humans were supposed to be fragile, weak, easy to break. But Minho was still standing. How? One of the soldiers whispered. How is he still up? Minho heard the question. Through the agony clouding his mind, he found his voice. You want to know how? He said, each word a struggle. Because I have something worth fighting for. Something worth dying for. Do you? The soldier had no answer. Karan released Princess Lyra and stepped forward, his rifle aimed directly at Minho's head. Enough games, human. You are impressive, I will give you that. But this ends now. Minho looked at the rebel leader. His vision was blurring at the edges, but his mind was still clear. He had spent years training for moments like this. Not physical training, but mental training. The ability to think when others would panic. The ability to find solutions when there seemed to be none. Before you kill me, Minho said, answer one question. Karan laughed coldly. What could you possibly want to know? Why did you really come back? The question hung in the air. Karan's smile faded. Behind him, His soldiers shifted uncomfortably. "I told you," Karan said. "For revenge. For the throne." Minho shook his head slowly, pain shooting through his shoulder with the movement. "No. If that were true, you would have killed the emperor the moment you walked in. But you did not. You took the princess instead. You wanted to negotiate. You wanted them to listen to you." Karan's face was like stone, but something flickered in his remaining eye. Something old and buried. "You wanted them to understand," Minho continued. "You wanted them to know what happened to you and your soldiers. You did not come here for power. You came here for justice." Silence filled the chamber. Even Princess Lyra was staring at Karan now, seeing him differently. Seeing him not as a monster, but as a broken man who had been forgotten by the people he served. Karan's hand trembled. The rifle lowered slightly. "You know nothing about me, human," he said, but his voice had lost its edge. "I know that you survived something terrible," Minho said. "I know that you were abandoned by people who should have protected you. I know that you have been carrying that pain for years, letting it turn into anger." He paused, breathing hard against the pain. "I know because I have seen that look before. In soldiers from my own world, who came back from wars nobody wanted to remember." The chamber was completely silent now. Even the rebel soldiers seemed uncertain. They had followed Karan because of his strength, his rage, his promise of revenge. But now they were seeing something else. They were seeing the truth beneath the anger. Karan stood frozen for a long moment. His rifle hung at his side, forgotten. Then, suddenly, he moved. He did not shoot Minho. Instead, he raised his rifle toward the emperor. His face twisted with years of pain finally breaking free. "You left us to die," Karan screamed. "We fought for you. We bled for you. And you just forgot about us." Minho acted without thinking. Despite his wound, despite the fire burning in his shoulder, he lunged forward. His body slammed into Karan's arm, just as the rebel leader pulled the trigger. The plasma bolt went wide, hitting the ceiling instead of the emperor. Crystal shattered and fell like rain. Karan turned on Minho with animal fury. He swung his rifle like a club, aiming for the human's head. But Minho was ready. He ducked under the blow and grabbed Karan's wrist with his good hand. They struggled. Karan was bigger, stronger, faster. But Minho had something the rebel did not have. He had purpose. He had clarity. Minho twisted hard, and the rifle clattered to the ground. Karan roared and threw a punch that caught Minho in the stomach. The human gasped and stumbled backward, his wounded shoulder screaming in protest. But he did not fall. He could not fall. Not yet. They faced each other, both breathing hard. "Why?" Karan demanded. "Why do you keep fighting? You are dying, human. Your blood is all over the floor. Why will you not just stay down?" Minho smiled, blood on his lips. "Because that is not what humans do." He charged thought. It was not a smart move. It was not a strategic move. It was the move of a man who had nothing left but his will and his heart. Minho hit Karan low, driving his shoulder into the rebel's chest. They both crashed to the ground, struggling for control. Karan's hands found Minho's throat, squeezing tight. Darkness crept into Minho's vision. He could feel his life slipping away, but he could also see Princess Lyra running toward them. He could see Yuna shouting into her tablet. He could hear the sound of ships landing outside the palace. Help had arrived. With the last of his strength, Minho brought his forehead crashing down onto Karan's nose. The rebel screamed and released his grip. Minho rolled away, gasping for air. The golden doors burst open. Valari soldiers poured into the chamber, their weapons raised. At their head was a commander in silver armor, his face grim and determined. "Surrender," the commander shouted. "You are surrounded." Karan's soldiers looked at each other. Then, one by one, They dropped their weapons and raised their hands. They were done. It was over. Karam lay on the floor, blood streaming from his broken nose. He did not move. He did not try to fight. All the anger seemed to have drained out of him, leaving only exhaustion and despair. Minho tried to stand but could not. His body had finally reached its limit. He collapsed onto his back, staring up at the crystal ceiling, watching the two suns of Valor shine through the broken glass. Someone appeared above him. Silver hair. Star-filled eyes. Princess Lyra looked down at him with an expression he had never seen before. Fear, gratitude, and something else. Something deeper. "You fool," she said, but her voice was gentle. "You absolute fool." Minho tried to laugh, but only managed a weak cough. "Did we win?" Lyra knelt beside him, her hands pressing against his wound, trying to stop the bleeding. "You are bleeding to death and you ask if we won?" "Priorities," Minho whispered. Medical teams rushed forward. Yuna pushed through the crowd and fell to her knees beside Minho, tears streaming down her face. "You idiot," she said. "You wonderful, brave idiot." Minho reached out and took her hand. "Did you get the message through?" Yuna nodded, unable to speak. "Good," Minho said. "Then it was worth it." Princess Lyra watched as the medical team lifted Minho onto a stretcher. She watched as they carried him out of the council chamber, Yuna walking beside him, never letting go of his hand. The Emperor appeared next to her. "That human," he said quietly, "is the bravest person I have ever seen." Lyra nodded. She could not find words to express what she was feeling. Everything she had believed about humans, everything she had been taught, was crumbling around her. "He saved my life," she finally said. "He saved all of us." The Emperor looked at his daughter with knowing eyes. "Yes, he did. The question now is, what will we do about it?" Lyra did not answer. She was already walking toward the door, following the stretcher, following the human who had changed everything. She did not know what she was going to do. But she knew she could not let him die. Not after what he had done. Not after what she had seen. Man H.O. had shown her something she had never known existed. A kind of courage that had nothing to do with strength or weapons or power. And she would never forget it.